Hi, I'm Peter Hewitt. I'm the founder and creator of Tea Forté, and I'm here today to tell you a little bit about the background and the inspiration behind Tea Forté. My background is in design, and I personally was really taken by the energy of the Asian tea ceremony. The spirit and the zen and the simplicity is really, really wonderful. And I realized there's really nothing that's parallel in the U.S. for what's happening in Asia. They're very much a tea culture, and for us, the traditional tea service in the U.S. is a very uninspired product that we've been using for decades, and it really isn't going anywhere. So I thought it was a great opportunity to really reimagine the entire ceremony, from the tea bag to the accessories to the presentation, just the entire thing. To really put on a fantastic presentation and really give guests a wonderful experience with tea. The core of this whole brand is the infuser that looks like this. It's really completely different than any tea bag before. It's made of a very high quality fabric that we fill with flowers and herbs and whole leaf teas and really deliver a lot of flavor. Next, I'm going to have Richard, our tea master, tell you more about tea service and the finer details of tea so that you yourself can be a tea expert and really educate your guests and give them a fantastic tea experience.
Basic, let's say, truths about tea that will really make you appear an expert. In fact, if you can master these three truths, you really will be so far ahead of the game in tea, and they're very, very easy. The first one is really the easiest, and that's that all tea comes from the same plant. This plant is called Camellia sinensis. So whether it's a black tea, a green tea, white tea, oolong tea, it all comes from that same plant. Much like wines all come from grapes, teas all come from Camellia sinensis. The second fact that I think is really an interesting one is that really the difference between white, black, oolong, and green teas comes in the processing, or what we call the manufacture of the leaf. And it's really all tied to oxidation. A white tea, for example, is just a tea leaf that's plucked and allowed to dry. It really isn't oxidized at all. Nothing happens to it other than plucking and drying. It's white tea. That's pretty much the definition of it. A green tea, however, it's plucked, it's withered, it's rolled, and then it's dried. A black tea has this extra step called oxidation. The leaf is plucked, withered, rolled, allowed to oxidize or turn brown and react with the oxygen. The enzymes in the leaf actually react with oxygen, and then it's dried. Then there's that big bridge of teas called oolong teas. Oolong teas are partially oxidized teas, and they form a very large category of tea, not so well known in the West yet, but coming very soon, and we have a beautiful one in our line called Formosa oolong, partially oxidized tea that I think you'll find to be very, very popular. The third thing that I think you really need to remember is what really makes up a cup of tea. It's important and it's easy. Tea only has three components. The first one are essential oils. The essential oils are the reason for the different shapes of tea leaves, whether they're folded flat, whether they're rolled into little round like pellets or balls. All of this is done to preserve the essential oils within that leaf. All of that folding and rolling so that the essential oils won't evaporate out of the leaf during transport or storage. The second and very important component of tea, and one that you hear a lot about in the news these days, are polyphenols. Polyphenols, flavonoids, these are the health-giving components of tea. They really bring the health benefit to the tea. They also bring mouthfeel to the tea. And I should back up a little bit. Those essential oils, they bring aroma to the tea. Polyphenols bring mouthfeel. And what mouthfeel is, it's that liveliness within your mouth. The third component is caffeine. We all know what caffeine does. It brings us energy. I think maybe I've had a little too much today. I think that one of the common misbeliefs also about caffeine in tea is that a white tea or a green tea contains naturally less caffeine than a black tea. One of the reasons that people often think green tea does have less caffeine is because we often steep green teas in cooler water for shorter periods of time. So let's talk a little about the teas themselves. Other than the fact that they have three components and that they all come from the same shrub and their oxidation levels are different, there's something that's very obvious when you look at our teas. They're beautiful. They're full leaf teas, coarse cut herbs, very different than this type of tea that often is found in tea bags. The problem with this type of tea is that it has too much surface area. These little bits of leaf have so much surface area that the essential oils escape before they get into your cup. Very different than whole leaf tea, which is folded so or rolled so that there will be retention of oils into your cup. Whole leaf tea will give you exceptional color, exceptional flavor, and exceptional aroma. Also, we choose our teas not only for their beauty and the style of their leaf, meaning the roll or the fold of their leaf, but for their forgiving character or forgiving quality. And what that means really, if a tea is forgiving, it means it has a very broad band of tolerance, meaning that you can steep it at different temperatures and for different time lengths and still not ruin the tea. You can still bring a nice cup of tea to the table even if you have been delayed in getting it there or if the water wasn't quite hot enough. I thought what I'd do is start with just some general tea steeping tips, and then we'll talk about how we serve Tea Forté. I think one of the most important things is to make sure you preheat your porcelain vessels or your steeping vessel for tea. It's really important because porcelain gets really cold. An easy way to do that is just take your teapot or service cup over to your hot water. Just swish a little bit around the bottom and you can feel that it gets really warm. Then just go ahead and get rid of that. And then you can either steep your tea or fill this with hot water, whatever you happen to be doing. I'm going to put a little bit of hot water in here right now. And another really important thing to remember with any tea is you always pour water over tea. Whether it's loose tea or a tea bag, one of our beautiful infusers, you don't want to drop tea into water or try and sink a tea bag into water. Always pour your water over the tea. The other thing is when you're steeping tea, always cover the steeping vessel. All right. Just knowing those three little steps will really make a big difference in how the tea arrives at the table. And that's any tea.
What kind of tea do I serve with guests if they don't know what they want or I'm trying to make it a suggestion?
I think if you're trying to make a suggestion, it's really helpful to remember what the guest is drinking as a wine, if they're drinking wine, and if not, what food they're eating. Fish and lighter foods, often a green tea or even a light herbal. If they're eating a beef meal, something heavy and hearty, and they're drinking hearty red wines, you might want to recommend a black tea.
Okay. When you serve milk or honey, which tea would you serve it with?
Well, generally milk and honey are served with black teas. However, a lot of people nowadays are sweetening their teas. So you might ask them if they would like sweetener. Lemon usually comes with a straight black tea. Every once in a while with a green tea, but very, very rarely with an herbal.
What is the recommended steep time for each tea?
Well, black tea is about 5 minutes. Herbal tea is also 5. And then green teas and white teas, about 3 minutes. I hope that this helped you to understand the service of our teas. And again, good luck, and we're looking forward to meeting you someday.